So the other day we were doing a basic n-body simulation where every single particle in the simulation was affected by every other particle's gravitational field. I was interested in what could happen if we were to do this simulation with 4 spatial dimensions, which led to me wondering about the difference between a 1 over r squared and a 1 over r cubed force law. Then I made this video. Now, both of these are 4-dimensional simulations. That is to say, we took 4 spatial dimensions and we compressed them down to 3D using a form of projections, which we've talked about in a previous video. Now, you might notice that the 1 over r cubed force law seems to crystallize in a sense. It seems like the particles move out and then they just kind of stop moving entirely. I naively thought this was the quote-unquote physical result of the simulation because, well, a 1 over r squared force law drops off really quickly. That is to say, if you have 2 particles that are very far apart, with a 1 over r squared force law, they really don't see each other at all. With a 1 over r cubed force law, it's even more exaggerated. 2 particles that are very far apart will really not see each other at all. So I thought the particles were flying out in space, and then they were so far away that they couldn't see anybody else and they would just kind of stop moving. If I'm honest, this was a little disheartening. I was hoping to do some really cool 4D galaxy simulations, but this particular visual kind of led me to believe that there wasn't anything there. That was until yesterday, when Shadipto in chat mentioned that maybe there was something wrong with the 1 over r cubed calculation. Namely, we have to use a cubed root, which could give you a positive or negative result, which could, if done incorrectly, lead to us creating a force law that is the opposite direction. So we fixed it, and here's the simulation. Starts off here. Next frame is this one. Perfect. Moves forward, clashes together. Perfect. Here's where things get funky to me. They're moving around like this. This is fine. Again, we're projecting down to 3D, so I'm expecting weird things to happen. But the whole cluster seems to be moving a little bit to the left, does it not? It looks like the whole thing is just moving. Am I wrong about that? Let me try doing this again, except just 2D with the r cubed force law. But it looks like it's drifting, doesn't it? I'm not going crazy, right? It looked better, but for some reason it was drifting off into a corner, which did not seem correct at all. So we thought, okay, maybe this does make sense. Maybe because it's 1 over r cubed and the particles that are very far away don't really see each other, it could be that we're kind of moving towards like clumps in the visualization. And that causes an overall drift of the cloud of particles. Okay, so that's easy enough to test. All we have to do is create a set of particles that are uniformly distributed, which is easy to do in 1, 2, and 3D, as long as you know the dimension number. But I actually struggled for 2 hours to make it n-dimensional, so we could do any number of dimensions from 1 to technically infinity if you have enough memory. So we had fixed the 1 over r cubed force law and we had created a grid of points, and we thought to ourselves, okay, at this stage, surely the simulation is going to work. And here's the visualization. It's wrong. This is all wrong. This thing is wrong. This is definitely wrong. Turns out, after about 3 hours of work debugging something that we weren't sure was physical or not, it was just an indexing error all along, which is, typical Leos Labs fashion. The truth is, over the course of the past week or so, we've actually come across a bunch of different bloopers that were kind of like this one. Like this one in particular. Whoa, what's happening now? Oh no. We were expecting to see what we see in the upper left. And instead, they all just kind of run away. Oh no. Oh, there they go. Okay, back to the problem at hand. We had fixed the 1 over r cubed force law in not 1 but 2 different ways, and we were ready to simulate the entire thing again. This time we started with 2D. Admittedly, it's definitely not physical in 2D, but we wanted to check it out to begin with. And we saw that the results kind of made sense. It looked almost identical to the 1 over r squared force law, just a little bit slower, which again is probably what you would have expected. Here again are the 4-dimensional simulations side by side, and they look pretty similar. Again, the only difference is that the 1 over r cubed force law seems to be moving just a little bit slower. But actually, I want to go back to the 2D simulation on a grid, because we found that you could find some genuinely mesmerizing results by running this simulation. I I really don't know what to say. I just genuinely love it. The symmetry here, everything about it just makes it look nice. I guess if there's an overall moral to this video, it's don't take your simulations too seriously. It takes a lot of mistakes to get to where you want to go, but once you get there, it can be incredibly satisfying. So now I can say to some reasonable degree of confidence that we have an n-body simulator working. All that's left is to optimize it. And that's what I plan to be doing on Twitch for the next probably month or two. If this sounds interesting, feel free to check it out. I'm live for about 6 hours a day in the morning in the US, in the afternoon in Europe, and in the evenings for Japanese Standard Time. Also, let me know what you think of this video in particular. I'm kind of trying to change my channel to be more focused on open, engaging research that we can do together as a community, which means I'm not entirely sure what I want to do with my YouTube content. I could do more regular uploads, kind of like this one, which talk about more or less day-to-day activities that we do in research. Or I could wait until we have a big novel result, but the problem with that is that novel results only come along every other month or so. No matter the case, you can definitely see the research being done live on Twitch, so feel free to check that out if you're interested. Also, if you like this type of content and you want to see it continue in the future, please consider supporting me on either GitHub sponsors or Patreon. And of course, a special shout out to those who are in the shout out tier on Patreon: Ankur, Jérémie, Mossy, and Valentin, and also 3 new people since last time: Peter Mekhail, who signed up as I'm James and I love MATLAB, which is categorically false. I'm James and I definitely don't love MATLAB. Mutual Information, who has their own YouTube channel, feel free to check it out. And Nick Tindle, who has been putting an insane amount of work into the algorithm archive recently. Seriously, thanks a lot. And on GitHub sponsors, thanks to Church of Thought and Splinter of Chaos. That's it for now. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.